So, last week we rode the new Yamaha MT-09, the 3-cylinder naked motorcycle that's jolly good fun. On this show, we love naked motorcycles. They have the highest giggle factor of any motorcycle. They are also the purest form of motorcycle. On a naked bike, you get the full panoramic experience. And the MT-09 is brilliant at this, but there is a small problem though. Generally, South Africans don't like naked bikes. They find them a touch breezy. Which is sad because that means South Africans never get to experience the joy of a Yamaha triple. Except that Yamaha has actually thought of this. So this is the 329,950 Rand Tracer 9 GT Plus. An MT-09 for people who don't want their heads slowly untwisted. And apart from the windshield, it is an MT-09 triple.
Oh, that triple sound. It's got an evilness to it. It's sort of a bewitched sound to it. It sounds like the sort of thing that keeps people locked in their doors at night. Medieval folk. They would hear the sound and get the children inside quickly and then hide under the bed. Sounds like this. Wait, let's change down. Let's hear it again. It's a glorious sound. As nice as so we got kind of on a sports tourer. We've got a glorious bewitching sound on the sports tourer. Sports tourers are normally supposed to be, calm and sedate. This is bewitching. It's got a bewitching sound.
Mechanically, the motor is exactly the same as that of the MT-09. It's an 890cc inline 3-cylinder with an irregular firing order that not only gives it its unique sound, but offers a torquier, more pulse-like feeling. Despite different mapping, it also pushes 117 horsepower and 93 Nm of torque, just like the MT-09. The chassis, that's where things get different. The frame might be the same, aluminium and all that, but the swing arm is a touch longer, and this entire bike weighs a hefty 223 kilograms, a good deal more than the MT-09.
This does not feel like a big kind of touring bike. They use the term sort of sports touring, or this is GT Plus in this case. Plus is important. And it is kind of sport touring. It's a bike that's meant to be able to go long distance, but it can carve a few curves here and there. This bike feels more sport than touring. Like the handling's extremely light. There we go. We come into a corner, tips in, honestly, it feels so lightweight. Like you expect kind of tourists to sort of have to lug around a little bit. They're very sharp, very stable, very solid, but you have to lug them around. This you're not lugging around nothing. It feels like a scooter. You just sort of dip it in and it's there. And the other nice thing is that it doesn't get sort of unsettled. I've not once been unsettled on this bike, and that's going over all sorts of bumpy roads, different speeds, different everything. It doesn't feel unsettled, which is kind of rare because normally it's either nippy or stable. In this but they've sort of done both.
Brake calipers are Yamaha's own no-name brand, coupled with Nissan Master cylinders. They are assisted by cornering ABS controlled by the 6-axis IMU, but that's not the interesting bit. The Tracer is equipped with unified brakes that operates both brakes when the rider pulls just one of the levers. It distributes the braking force according to your needs, which takes some getting used to.
Yeah, these brakes are weird. It's like you go for the front brake, you pull the lever sort of a bit and all is fine, and then you pull a little bit more and then suddenly, if you're a man, you have to swallow. Ooh. Yeah, although it does stop really, really, really well. It just does take a bit of getting used to that sudden sort of whoop. I suppose it's better than crashing into whatever you're trying to avoid.
Being the GT Plus model, this bike has a ton of electronics, including radar-assisted cruise control, that monitors vehicles in front of you and follows according to the distance you set. Not only that, but it is connected to the unified braking system that'll give a hand should it notice impending doom before you do. And that's not where the electronical good news ends.
This quick shift is fantastic. Watch here. So I'm going down to second gear. In fact, I'm going to go to first gear. Slow right down. Now I'm going to short shift all the way. Now, normally when you've got a quick shifter, you need high revs for it to work, low revs they don't work. That's just always been the law. So here I am in first gear, 48 kilometers per hour. I'm going to short shift all the way to sixth gear. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. There we go, 70 k's an hour in sixth gear, short shifted the whole way. And you want to go back again, no problem. It's brilliant. Especially when you're going around town, commuting, all that kind of stuff. The quick shifter will work all the time.
And of course, with new electronics comes a new TFT dash.
So, this has got a very, very interesting TFT screen. It's pretty cool. So, it's got a little joystick kind of down here on the lever that, well, I like the joystick. It's a little bit of a stretch to get to, but it's not too bad. And then if you go up and down there, if you look on the left of the screen, there it sort of scrolls through all the different info. That I think is pretty cool. It's got, I don't know, I feel slightly sophisticated looking at that. Then if you click sideways, you get all these different options here. Motorcycle info, there's all if you want to connect to your phone, you can connect to the GPS, it connects to all sorts of things. Most of this doesn't work. Grip warmers, there we go, got nice heated grips. But my favorite is the themes. Now you see this one, it's fairly nice, fairly sort of well laid out, very kind of, grown up. If you go up one, there we go, there's an old analog looking thing, that's pretty cool. But my favorite, by miles, is this one. Take a look at that. It's like you've got a Jedi with a lightsaber being your rev counter. And watch out. When you rev, woohoo! It leaves like a weird alien mark. That is the greatest TFT dash that has ever happened. It's possibly the greatest thing in all motorcycling to ever happen. I love that. That's brilliant.
So far we've determined that the Tracer has a great sound, great handling, and great gadgetry. But now we get to the touring part of Grand Tour.
So as the triangle, as they call it, which is, handlebars, foot pegs, and seat feels very good. You're the bike's a little bit high up. There are different seating options, but the bike's a little bit high up. But it gives you lots of leg room. And yeah, I've got tons of room to move with my arms and everything like that. The screen is pretty good. It's on its lowest setting now. If I do that, now it's on its highest setting. Very nice and simple and easy. And I'm quite short, but on this high setting, the wind blows straight over my head. That's brilliant. Little complaint. So it's got a seat on this thing that, it's sort of cup shaped. So you sort of sit into it. It's not that comfortable. If I'm gonna, spending the whole day in this thing, sure, especially as it's got that cup shape, so you can't really move. You're sort of trapped in one position on a seat that's a bit hard. And I think if I'm going to spend an entire day in the saddle, I'm eventually going to start, I'm going to have to start squirming a little bit.
I'd love to say the criticism ends there, but there's one other thing.
My little complaint is that this motor's good. I mean, it's got a great sort of sound, it's got great everything. But I just kind of wish it was a little bit livelier. Even in sport mode, it's sort of, you open the throttle, it happens, but it doesn't quite explode. I just kind of wish a little bit more exploding. And that's relevant because last week we did the MT-09, and that's kind of fresh in my memory. And you open the throttle in MT-09 and lots happens. It feels good. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that with this, especially in sport mode. And then if you don't want that, put into street mode or touring mode or something, and then, calm it down. But top speed, somewhere around 250 kilometers per hour, that's really not bad. That's not bad at all. It was stable as all hell. Not that I did 250, don't do that. That would be illegal and wrong in every way.
Although the Tracer does claw back a chunk with its KYB suspension.
So this is a bike that's, okay, GT, kind of sport touring. That's a new name for sport tourer, I reckon. This is a bike that's more sport than tourer. I do think if you're going to spend long days in the saddle, yeah, I'm not quite sure. This is not quite sort of sedate enough. It's not quite sort of comfortable enough. You know, the motor makes a fair amount of noise. The seat's a bit hard. I think that would be tricky. But if you're doing fairly long distances and you want a bike that's also fun to play around, for example, you're going to ride through to Mpumalanga, and when you get there you want to blast around on the corners, this could work very well. This could work very, very well. This, as I say, if you're going to do more sporting than touring, in other words, you're going to ride some distance to do your sport riding, this could be a very, very good bike indeed. Especially with a lightsaber TFT.
So there we go, that's the Yamaha Tracer 9 GT Plus. Bit of a mouthful. Now, as we said, this bike is very much sort of more sporty than touring. It is a bit of a spectrum there in that class. By we say that is that I couldn't see myself personally sitting in that seat for hours and hours, 12 hours at a time. It'll start hurting a bit. But when you get to, for example, in Mpumalanga, and there's all those great mountain passes, man, it's going to be such a jolt. Yeah, it's just the trip getting there, less so. But hey, that depends on every person. Now, as you said, there's a lot of kind of different motorcycles in this class. It's a bit of a spectrum. Also out in 2024 was the Suzuki GSX-S 1000 GT. Now, you might not think this is quite in the same class. That's sort of a big bike, and it is. It's got 100 more cc's plus a whole extra cylinder. It's a 4-cylinder, 1000cc. The motor is based on a 2005 GSX-R 1000 Superbike. That is a sort of a big step up. However, if you look at the price, 299,000 Rand. Okay, it's got electronic suspension. Also, it does not have radar guided cruise control, and it does not have lightsabers on its dash. It's got a nice dash, you know, very functional, but no lightsabers. What it does have though is it pushes 152 horsepower and 106 newton meters of torque. Now that's quite something. I mean, compared to the Yamaha's 117 horsepower, this is 152, 93 newton meters of torque versus 106. So it has got a lot more punch. It won't be as quick and agile through the corners. If you're going to do a longer day on the saddle, I think that Suzuki has you kind of waxed. It's not bad through the corners. It is bigger and heavier than the smaller, lighter Tracer, but it still is a lot of fun. Remember, we said that the Tracer was 329,950, so it's about 30 grand more expensive than the Suzuki. However, this class is competitive, and we were having a look at some other models, especially a lot of manufacturers, in fact most of them, still have 2023 models. Those were the 2024, they have 2023 models, sports tourers, still up for sale. And there's some very, very good prices there. If we go across to Kawasaki, the Ninja 1000 SX, also kind of sports touring, motors based on an old ZX10, although it's changed quite a bit. It's now 1043cc 4-cylinder. It pushes 140 horsepower and 111 newton meters of torque. So similar performance output to the Suzuki. It does not have electronic suspension, well, like both the Yamaha and the Suzuki, and it does not have radar guided cruise control. But it is on sale for 229,000 Rand, which is a stupidly good price. It's basically 100 grand cheaper than that Yamaha. Now, we said the Suzuki and the Kawasaki are more kind of on the touring side of the spectrum, where the Yamaha is more on the sports. We're now going to go even further onto the sports side of the spectrum. Have a look at this. This is the KTM 890 SMT. A bike very much more on the sporty side. Now, SM stands for Supermoto, T stands for Touring. Supermoto Touring, you don't get more sport than Supermoto. In fact, we rode this bike around a go-kart track when we tested it. It was a little bit overwhelmed by the go-kart, or should we say the go-kart track was a little bit overwhelmed by the bike. But it is very, very light, nimble, can carve up corners, no problem. Again, like the Tracer, I might not want to spend 12 hours in that seat, but a few hours it can handle pretty well, and you'll have a lot of fun carving up some of those corners. Now, obviously, this is also an 890cc motor, well, close to 900cc motor. However, it's got one less cylinder. It's a parallel twin compared to the triple in that Tracer, and it is on sale for 265,000 Rand. So also a pretty good price, and however, I'm pretty sure you're going to have to put a whole lot of extras onto that also. Just look out for that. But also good, very good bike if you want to go a lot more on the sporting side of the spectrum. Now we're going to go and have a look at the Germans. Now here we go, a BMW S1000 XR. Now this is cheating a little bit. It is very good at everything. So it's extremely comfortable. You can spend 12 hours in that saddle easily, and when you get to the corners it'll be spectacular, and that motor's terrific. It is a full-on sports bike and a full-on tourer like the other two. It's 1,000cc 4-cylinder motor based on the S1000 RR. It pushes 165 horsepower, 114 newton meters of torque, so it knocks the ball out of the park in this class, quite frankly. The price is 336,000 Rand, which is very similar to the Tracer. However, the Tracer, everything you see on it, that's included in that price. With the BMW, you're going to have to start adding stuff, similar to the KTM. And by the time you start doing that, the price is going to be creeping up closer to 400,000 Rand. Yeah, so once you get into that, then, well, if you can afford it, it's great. If you can't, hey, there's always a Tracer. There we go. That is the sport touring class. That was the Tracer 9 GT Plus.